Okay, so now we're going to have a look at questions 6 through 10 from the 2024 Standard 2 Maths HSC. So I'll start with question 6. We're given a right triangle, looks like this. This is a right angle, this is 40 degrees, this is 20, this is x. Which of the following is the correct expression for the length of x? Well, with reference to this angle, this side is the hypotenuse, it's opposite the right angle. This side is the adjacent. So we need the trigonometric angle which involves adjacent and hypotenuse. So SOH, C-A-H from SOHCAHTOA, cosine theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. Adjacent is x, hypotenuse is 20, theta is 40. So we get cosine 40 is equal to x over 20. Of our expressions, we need one that is in the form of x equals. So we're going to multiply both sides by 20. This is going to give us x is equal to 20 times cosine 40. So x equals 20 cosine 40. That is A. So the answer for question 6 is A. Now let's move on to question 7. So for question 7, we are told 3 years ago the price of a uniform was $180. Due to inflation, the price increased annually by 2.5%. What is the price of the uniform now? We can pretty much just use compound interest. We just need to increase the price 3 times by 2.5% compounding. So we can say A is P times 1 plus the rate to the number of years. So we get the new price A is 180 times 2.5 as a decimal is 0.025. So 1 plus 0.025 is 1.025. This is to the power of 3. So we pop this in our calculator. 180 times 1.025 cubed. That is 193.84. So 193.84 ... dollars and cents, so we'd round it. The one that is pretty much exactly this answer is D. Consequently, D is our solution for question 7. So now let's have a look at question 8. So we're told a bill for servicing a car is made up of $242 for parts, which includes 10% GST, $100 for labour excluding GST. The mechanic needs to add 10% GST onto the labour charge. How much does the customer pay? How much GST does the customer pay in total? Well, the 242 includes GST. So 242, this is inclusive of GST. Now, if you have a number inclusive of GST and you want to find what the GST is, you multiply that number by 1 on 11. So 242 times 1 on 11, 242 times 1 on 11 is 22. So $22 GST was paid on the parts. There's $100 for labour. This does not include GST. So this was parts, this is labour. So we need to find 10% of this, multiply by 1 on 10. This is 10 GST. So parts 22, labour 10. So therefore the GST total is going to be 22 plus 10, which is $32. So GST total is $32 exactly, and this is C. So the answer to question 8 is C. Alright, so the last two we'll do in this video are 9 and 10. So we'll have a look at 9 first. The time taken to paint a school varies inversely with the number of painters completing the task. It takes 6 painters a total of 20 days to paint a school. Okay, so 6 painters, we're going to do a little symbol to show proportionality. 6 painters are proportional to 20 days. So 6 painters proportional to 20 days. How many days would it take 15 painters to paint the same school? Well, the relationship we have here is an inverse proportionality. So we're using this symbol not to indicate actual proportionality, linear proportionality, just to show there's a relationship. Now, if we halved the number of painters, we would have to double the number of days. If we halve the number of painters, we're not halving the number of days. Very common mistake that students would make in this question. If we had 3 painters, actually it would take 40 days, which makes sense because you have half the number of people. So they're able to do half the amount of work each day, so it'll take twice as many days. So what we really need to do is we need to work out if we divide one side by 2, we multiply the other side by 2. So we have to manipulate this expression so that we have 15 painters on one side, see what we get on the other. That will be how many days it takes. And it must be less than 20, right? Because you've got more people working. In fact, it has to be less than 10 because 12 painters would do it in 10 days. So we know we're looking for a number less than 10. So immediately D and C are not possible. It's either B or A, and it's probably B. B is just a little bit less than 10. It's likelier answer even without calculating it. So we're going to find out how long it would take one painter. So divide this side by 3, this gives us 1 painter, this is proportional. Multiply this side by 3, this gives us 120 days. So 1 painter would take 120 days. Multiply this side by 15 to get 15 painters. Divide this side by 15, 120 divided by 15 is 8. So this is 8 days, so therefore the answer is B. The method I've used here looks a little bit complicated because you're simplifying it down to how much time one painter would take. But if you got a much more complicated version of this same question, you might have to do this. Right? So you could do this easier ways than this in this case because the question is quite simple. But for a much harder proportionality question, it might be more difficult if you don't do it with a more complicated form like this. Okay, so question 10, last question for this video. Consider the formula. We are told S is WT plus P on 2. Which of the following shows P as the subject of the formula? Okay, so we just need to rearrange it so it's P equals. Easiest thing to do straight away, multiply everything by 2. It's annoying to have fractions in algebraic expressions, so it's good to remove them if we can. So we get 2S is 2WT plus P. I'm going to minus 2WT from both sides, 2WT. This gives me 2S minus 2WT is equal to P. Now we just need to find which one of these expressions is the same as this. Not A, not B, not C. It is D. P is 2S minus 2WT. So this is D. And the answer to question 10 is D. So this was questions 6 through 10 of the 2024 HSC Standard 2 Maths paper.